Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
Then as soon as we wanted to watch it on Forgotten Cinema, it goes to A&E, and I got to pay to rent it.
She obliterates his area. He's back up fighting like there's no pain going through there.
Lady, you're about 5 punches to the balls
That
too late.
guy-
There's nothing down there but dust.
That guy needs to be on the floor writhing in pain.
Oh, man, he reads a lot. He's such a learned man. He's so great. He's so much better than everyone.
He is, right? Look at that review.
God. Oh, my God.
Hello, I'm Mike Field,
I'm Mike Butler.
and you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. Each episode, we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or a movie simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the movie, or perhaps don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. If you enjoy our podcast, we want to hear from you. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Find us. Our podcast is available on all platforms with a backlog of 175 episodes for your listening pleasure.
Oh, yeah. I got a question for you, Field.
Yes.
How do you see yourself? Like on a scale of 1 to 10.
How I rate myself?
How do you rate yourself?
I'm a 10.
Yeah, you're a 2.
Yeah, that was a pretty crappy part of the movie. What are we doing today?
We are doing 2013's The Way, Way Back. Duncan is an awkward teen who must spend the summer at a beach house with his mother, her boyfriend, Trent, and Trent's obnoxious daughter. Trent can't resist badgering Duncan, so the youth steals away to a water park and gets a job that will help him stay off Trent's radar. As Duncan tends to the slides and pools of the aging water park, he finds a father figure in wisecracking park manager Owen, at a time when he desperately needs one. This is The Way, Way Back. Not to be confused with The Way Back, which...
there's two way backs.
Yeah, exactly. There's multiple way backs.
Peter Weir the way back from 2010, and then the way back, obviously, with Ben Affleck.
That just came out.
Oh, yeah, a couple years ago. And
2010 one's why they had to call this The Way, Way Back, apparently.
Well, to avoid confusion. I don't know if I agree with that synopsis saying that Sam Rockwell's character is a father figure. I thought of him just as a friend, as someone who would help him.
Yeah, I didn't really see.
You know what I mean?
Figure
Yeah, I don't.
He was still kind of holding on to his father in the West Coast.
Yeah, I think he was just somebody that
he wasn't looking for a father figure. Right.
All right. The Way, Way Back is a runtime of 103 minutes. Rated PG-13, production budget of $5 million. It has 2 release dates. We're going to do the wide release date, which was July 26, 2013. Its limited release date was actually July 5th, but that was only in 19 theaters. And then it kind of grew over time. And I believe it went from 300 to 800, the July 26th. And then after that, I think I got another 200 theaters after that. So it did reach 1,000 theaters, but we're going to go with the wide and not the limited release. And as I said, in the wide, that opening weekend of that wide release, it made $3.4 million. Domestic, it made 21.5, international 4.9 million, for a worldwide total of $26.4 million, which, considering its $5 million production budget, that's pretty good.
Not bad at all.
Exactly.
Because it's got Steve Carell's name on it.
Maybe.
That certainly wouldn't have hurt.
Maybe. Production company was Sycamore Pictures, the Walsh Company, and Odd Lot Entertainment. It was distributed by Fox Searchlight Pictures. I said it came out on the 26th of July. That went up against, in a wide release, The Wolverine. Did you like The Wolverine? That's the one where he's in Japan, right? Feudal
yes,
Japan.
It is the one where he's in Japan. I did until the very end when he fights the robot. I was like, this was a really good samurai movie. And now we're fighting a CG robot. It really almost ruined the movie for me.
Almost, but not quite.
Not quite. But because it's only the last 10 minutes, but man, does it fall completely apart in the last 10 minutes.
You also had a wide release of Fruitvale Station, which was Michael B. Jordan's movie that kind of put him on the map, and Ryan Coogler. In a limited release that you had the To-Do List and Blue Jasmine. Blue Jasmine, I think, was the movie I was thinking about the last episode that just came out.
Yes.
Okay.
As I was editing it, I was like, Blue Jasmine, that's the name of that thing.
And I was trying to think of the movie that Cate Blanchett was nominated for an Academy Award that Woody Allen had written and directed, and that was Blue Jasmine. But I can't even, I'm just blanking on the movie that I was thinking it was.
Something in the 90s. I can't remember.
The 31st, which was the Wednesday, you had a wide release of The Smurfs 2, which kind of happens also in the summer season, trying to squeeze all the movies in there. August 2nd, which is a week away from this release date, you had a wide release of Two Guns and a limited release of The Spectacular Now and Europa Report.
What was the Spectacular Now?
I'm confusing it because I don't think it's the one with what's his face, who is Miles Teller.
It is the one with Miles Teller.
Yeah, isn't he? Woodley. Yeah, like she's bullied, or he's a bully, or he was I don't know, something like
hard-parting high school seniors' philosophy on life changes.
There you go.
When he meets the not so typical nice girl.
Yeah, it was an indie.
Terrible.
It was an indie that made them, famous. Put them on their way.
Gotcha.
To where they were going. So, it's okay. I don't think it was. I don't remember thinking it was spectacular. Pardon the pun. But I enjoyed it. The week before, the 19th of July, you had a wide release of Red 2, which I was not a fan. R.I.P.D., which I definitely was not a fan of.
I never saw it, just because everyone says how bad it is.
It's really bad. And The Conjuring, which was pretty good. It's almost like I always say the Conjuring is a modern day poltergeist. Excuse me.
Yeah. Conjuring's not bad.
Mm-hmm. You also had a limited release that week of Girl Most Likely and Only God Forgives, which I enjoy as well. I believe that's the Ryan Gosling film.
Yep.
So this movie was written and directed by Nat Faxon and Jim Rash. They have both written. They actually are both Academy Award winners for writing The Descendants. They won the Best Writing Award there. Jim Rash is probably familiar because you've seen him in Community. The Dean, yes. He's also done a lot of directing of a lot of those episodes. They also wrote and directed Downhill, which came out during the pandemic. So I would assume a lot of people missed that. Yeah, that was with Julie Louis-Dreyfus and Will Ferrell, I think, and he just like wants to there's like an avalanche, and they're video recording, and as the avalanche comes out because they're at a ski vacation, he doesn't help in his film. He gets out of the way, and that's like a big thing. Like,
on Instagram, I just saw a video of that, and I didn't know. I was like, that's got to be from a movie, but I have no idea what that is.
That kind of came out during the whole pandemic stuff, so I think that's why I got lost. But I've always wanted to go back to it. So maybe I will now that I kind of got reminded of it. Faxon's he's on the TV show, the new show Loot, that Maya Rudolph is in, who's in this movie as well. But that's pretty much, that's pretty much it right now. In terms, they've got a lot of stuff that's in the pipeline. I think a lot of stuff that's coming. So I'm sure, hopefully we'll see more of them because I do like the movies that I've just mentioned here, including this one. Spoiler alert. Cinematographer was John Bailey, who has done American Gigolo, The Big Chill, which we did, Butler, and Nobody's Fool.
Right.
Composer was Rob Simonson, who has done 500 Days of Summer, Tully, and The Way Back with Ben Affleck. I'm sure there was a lot of jokes on set there. Edited by Tatiana Reigel, who was nominated for an Oscar for I, Tonya. She also did Cruella and Lars and the Real Girl. And then produced by Tom Rice and Kevin J. Walsh. Rice has done the movie Greyhound. That's the one with Tom Hanks. And Begin Again, which is we did on the show, on the podcast as well. Mm-hmm. Walsh has produced, amongst other movies, Death on a Nile and Manchester by the Sea, which is a great film, but it's really tough to watch.
What are you talking about? It's really up
on repeat. What
are you talking about?
Exactly. So you had Steve Carell, as Butler said, who plays Trent. He was nominated for an Oscar for Foxcatcher. We also did an episode of a movie he was in called Crazy Stupid Love, if you've heard of it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've heard of this TV show called The Office. He's also known for that.
That was Ricky Gervais.
Well, that's
confusing.
I do like the British Office quite well. Toni Collette as Pam. She plays the mother of the son that Butler explained in his synopsis, who's awkward, I guess. She was nominated for an Oscar for her role in The Sixth Sense. She's also in Hereditary, About a Boy. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but one of her first big films was Muriel's Wedding, which was an Australian film. So I recommend you check that out because it's very good. Allison Janney as Betty. She has won an Oscar for I, Tonya. She's also in Juno, the TV show Mom, and of course the TV show The West Wing. Rob Corddry as Kip, who's from the TV show Ballers, also the movie Hot Tub Time Machine and Office Christmas Party. Amanda Peet as Joan. I don't understand. Is Joan and Kip, are they a couple?
I imagine they're married, yes.
Okay. They didn't really say it a lot.
They're just kind of a party couple.
Yeah, maybe.
But then you also get Kip like being all...
We can get to that. She's from the TV show Brockmire. She's also in the X-Files, I Want to Believe, which by the time you hear this episode, you probably already have heard our Pint episode, hopefully, where we talk about the X-Files, I Want to Believe, with John Amento. So. If you haven't, go now or after you listen to this. And she's also in The Whole 9 Yards and The Whole 10 Yards, if that matters for people. Anna Sophia Robb as Susanna. She is the daughter of Betty, Janie's character. She's in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Soul Surfer, and Lansky. Liam James as Duncan, who is the awkward teen. He's in the TV show Psych. He plays young Sean. He's also in the TV show The Killing and the movie 2012. Zoe Levine as Steph, which is Trent's daughter, I believe. She's the TV show Bonding and the upcoming TV show The White House Plumbers, which I think is about Watergate, but I don't know.
Okay.
I believe that's about Watergate. Sam Rockwell as Owen, who was won an Oscar for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. He's also nominated for an Oscar for the movie Vice, and more recently he was in Richard Jewell. Maya Rudolph, as I said before, plays Caitlin. She is in Bridesmaids, Big Hero 6, and the TV show Loot. That's new now. And then Faxon and Rash are in here. Faxon plays Roddy, who's one of the workers at the park, the Water Whiz. And Jim Rash plays Lewis, who's also one of the workers at the park.
Yep.
But we already talked about them, so I'm not gonna. Now, when I was watching this, Butler, I didn't know I couldn't remember what your relationship to this film was. I don't know if we watched it together in the theater.
We did not.
Okay, so had you seen it before this?
I had
viewing?
not seen it before.
Oh, interesting.
I was confusing this with, I think, like 2 other movies.
Ooh, what movies?
Parts of the movie. Before I watched it, when I just kind of saw the poster, I was like, "What is this movie like?" Certain scenes from like the trailer for Adventureland was in my brain.
True.
And there's another movie that had Robert Downey Jr. in it. It was similar in tone.
Where he's older.
He's like the mentor kind of person to some kid. So
Spider-Man.
I didn't know what this
Was it the Spider-Man films?
So I didn't know what this film was exactly. And then as it started playing, I was like, okay, I think I remember the trailer for this movie.
Okay.
So I really had no idea what to expect from it.
Well, first thoughts. Go ahead.
Oh, man.
Okay, you want me to go? You want me to go first?
This is the first movie where Steve Carell is just an absolute dick.
He is a dick. A lot of my notes are like, I really don't like Trent.
Yeah, he's just a bad guy.
He is.
That's cool. I mean, he was also a bad guy in what's the wrestling movie?
Foxcatcher. Foxcatcher,
he was playing a real character.
He was,
and he was almost like that guy. This is like, if Steve Carell's, normal character is like, he plays pretty much the same guy on most of his stuff. If he just kind of went full dick.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he's playing here. Man, do I hate him.
Yeah, he's not a good. I hate him. Well, to your point about Carell and Foxcatcher, I always thought Foxcatcher, it always felt like he was doing a voice. Like
he's definitely doing a voice,
and it felt like listen, I'll never take anything away from somebody getting nominated. That's fantastic. I just was, when he got nominated, I was like, whatever. I just wasn't a huge fan of him in that movie. There were other things in Foxcatcher I liked better.
Right.
Probably. Maybe that's better.
He was definitely playing a character in Foxcatcher.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas this, he's kind of playing a person. Like
he's playing himself, but as a jerk, which honestly, the fact that you know him from The Office and the fact that you know him from things where he's likable and he's always the good guy, the fact that he can do that in this movie and completely turn you against him is really good.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But also I hated it. I hated him. I hated the fact that while we talk about Trent, I couldn't understand how Pam could not see how much of a dick he was, how controlling he was.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like
the whole movie, it's like she's doing the dishes. She's getting stuff. He never gets anything out of the car. He never helps with the dishes. He never helps cook the food.
He tells her son what to do constantly.
Yep.
And I understand they touch upon it briefly when they fight at the end, towards the end when Duncan and Pam, his mother, fight with each other. And she doesn't say it, but you get the idea where she's an older woman. She found somebody that likes her and she doesn't want to give that up.
She needs it. Yeah.
Right. But they don't really dive into that too much. And I understand because I knew that's where it was going and I understand that. But because I didn't get that to the end of the movie, it just made me like frustrated with her to not see what an ass that Trent was being to her own son. Like, hey, we pick up the dishes on our house, buddy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, you going to help out? You're going to carry that? The cooler ain't going to carry itself.
Like that buddy to every sentence.
Yeah. That bugged me that she couldn't see that.
Yeah. I mean, that she couldn't see that he was a dick to him, like, especially when he had to wear the life vest and nobody else could.
Yeah. I didn't get that. I didn't understand why she didn't just step in and go, no, he doesn't.
That's
need
clearly
to.
him picking on him. Like, the other stuff, it's like, all right. But like, that was like, you're clearly picking on this kid.
Yeah.
Even if you're desperate for attachment, like, you're really like, just pushing it, man.
Yeah. And the movie starts off with how you joked about starting off the podcast, where he basically, everyone's sleeping in the car except Trent and Duncan. And the whole point of the movie, the way back, is Duncan sitting in the way back of the station wagon where there's a seat back there. And he's like, he asks Duncan, how do you rate yourself? And he tells him, I think you're a 3. You're a 3. And like, it's really insulting.
Yeah.
And immediately you're like, oh, screw you, dude. But what I find not funny, but upsetting is that this is based on Jim Rash's life.
Yeah, his own stepfather said that.
Right. This is just the opening scene. The opening scene is based. This movie came about from that scene.
Right.
That because he was 14 and his stepfather had the same conversation with him. And it's just like, how can you say that to a kid? Like, how can you just do that? I hate it from the start. I was like, okay, dude, let's go.
And you never get this turn. I kept expecting a turn with Trent. I expected them to kind of come to a realization, to kind of come to terms with each other and both learn from their experience. And you never get that. Trent is just unrepentant the whole way through.
You never get that. You never get, and you do kind of get, not violent, but he does, like, when he goes when the hell towards the end of the movie, when Duncan basically out and out says he's cheating on you.
Oh yeah, and Trent's about to punch a 14-year-old.
Right.
Like, come on.
But you never get, that's as far as it gets. And you kind of see where it could go unchecked.
Right.
But I was appreciative of the fact that wasn't part of the movie in terms of like, he wasn't violent with Duncan.
Right.
Because I think that's a different film.
Absolutely.
But I also think it does go to how Trent's condescending nature towards Duncan. And I think, which is harsher because it's like little jabs, jabs, like, I'm better than you. Like that's what he's saying in every comment. And it just, I think that's a little bit, that hurts more, I think. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because,
and it's a little more sneaky too. It's like little jabs instead of just a full punch. It's just like, oh God, I really hate you.
Yeah.
I do like, however, like, I like that. Like, it looks like Pam and Trent are going to stay together just because, and you're just kind of like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then at the end, when she goes in the back seat, you kind of realize once this ride's over, it's over with Trent.
What a ride. Like what it's, at the end of the movie, Butler's talking, they have this throughout the movie. And then at the end of the film, she's sitting in the front and everyone's quiet. No one's saying a thing. And she finally, you can see Pam like deciding in the seat, like, what am I going to do? And she decides, I'm just going to go sit back with my son.
Right.
And you get the idea that she's leaving him, but like, they're still going to drive home.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And like, it's just, oof, what a ride.
Awkward ride.
Exactly. I mean, like, what happens if you had to stop for lunch or something?
They're only going to New York, so you better drive fast.
Yeah. And I think you do get the sense in this film, and they don't really focus on it too much because it's really through Duncan's eyes. But you kind of get the sense when they first get there and Pam's on vacation and you see how they start smoking pot and the Betty's daughter, who's kind of like the quote unquote love interest friend of Duncan,
right, talks
about how this place changes parents.
It's spring break for parents.
Yeah. They sneak off. She tells him, hey, when they're at the party, hey, come on, I want you to sit down and eat with me. And then he turns around, he sees her run off. They run off to go smoke weed, I guess.
Yep.
So he just throws out his food. Like you see her kind of being taken away from her son.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And like, I mean, I don't know if you caught on to this, but how old is Trent's daughter supposed to be?
I got that she was like 16, 17.
And she's just taking beers.
Oh, yeah.
Every time she goes to the beach, and he doesn't care. So you get the sense of the kind of parent he is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's
because she's an 8, a 9, maybe. Like she does it. She puts herself out there. But Duncan, you're a 3.
Yeah. which goes to one of my favorite lines in the film, is at the end of the film when Rockwell comes in and he's just like, I'm a friend of the 3.
Oh, yeah. I like when Trent goes to kind of maybe even grab Duncan.
Yeah.
And he just moves even further.
He's like, he steps in front of him.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right. Because he knows. And you get that sense. There's a great camaraderie in the relationship between Owen, which is Rockwell's character, and Duncan, and you get that at the end of the film where he tells him, like, I know a lot what you're talking about. I know about control. My father was like that. And which is cool. I think that's a really cool. And especially where it felt like a lot of Owen's character and Caitlin's character, Maya Rudo's character, was improv during the movie.
Oh, sure. The jokes and stuff for sure.
But not even the jokes. Like they're in the script. So one of the notes I have here is that Maya Rudolph's character, Caitlin, was younger in the original script, and Ration Faxon made her older. And they weren't supposed to be not a pseudo couple,
right?
But they told them while they were shooting, like, maybe do some of that. And so a lot of the stuff that they're doing on camera, I'm sure they're writing stuff as they go along as they're shooting the movie, but it's during the process of making the film.
Sure, yeah,
which is great. I think that's and the fact that they were able to find that on screen in the frame and it worked really well. And you know what I mean? I thought that really was a testament to the two actors there.
Well, it also helps with Owen because you need to give Owen something because he can't remain a man-child and give you this speech at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not a speech, but the lines at the end and be this father figure without having something that's motivating him from turning from man-child to adult or like man-teenager, I guess. Like still a man-child, but a little bit more responsible.
Well, he's an adult. Yeah.
Kind of be with Caitlin.
Sure. It also adds credence to the scene that you just talked about where he steps in front of Carell so he can't touch Duncan.
Right.
Because you're like, okay, like you kind of, it's not like that's not it. That it's good that that's not his moment to be a man. Or to grow up. We've already seen that maturity moment 45 minutes earlier. So this moment is just like he has that in him and he can.
Yep.
And maybe he doesn't ever want to be that, that's not the type of person he wants to be, but if he needs to for somebody else,
push comes to shove.
Right. Which like I said, I'm a big fan of that line. Even that at the end of that movie, that small moment where they see the employee of the month pick and that's the only time you see him smiling, that big of a smile.
Yep.
Is on that pick, and you see it's like you can see Pam looking at her son that she's never seen him at all, probably ever since the breakup, I'm sure.
See him smile.
Right. And then Trent shows up. He's like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah. Why are we here? What are you looking at? I'm not even going to look at the thing you're looking at.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's stupid. But just Trent's such a douche.
He shot this part in 10 days. Did you see that?
I saw that, yeah, because he was he's kind of vacationing, like he only took the role because it's where his family vacationed.
Right.
If it wasn't, he wasn't going to accept the role.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, all right. Family man.
I get that.
Doesn't help that I don't like you in here, Trent.
Still a dick.
But he's not in, as much as like he affects Duncan, he's not in all that many scenes.
He's not.
And a lot of his scenes are night shots at the same house or day shots at the same
True.
house. So you could really wrap that up pretty quick.
Yeah. Maybe that one scene at Water Whiz. And then, the gas station that's across the way. Yeah.
Water Whiz, gas station, car, house at day, house at night.
And that car's pretty old. I know he says it's a classic. I don't know why he covers it when it rains. That's so stupid.
He's got to keep it nice and fresh. That paint job, that off-green, that pea soup paint job.
I mean, it looks like the same car from Vacation. That he gets. Yeah. The good Vacation, not the remakes. Did you see the note that instead of a trailer, they rented a house and cast and crew just stayed at the house and actors would go there to rest?
I did see that.
Yeah, and that ended up becoming like a popular hangout spot where people just hung out there all the time, even on their days off. That's pretty cool. I like that note. I always like it when I hear about films because there's always camaraderie on film sets. But when and a lot of times it's fake. A lot of times it's not real. It's not, not the right people are doing it. But this feels like you could get the sense that they all were just because it's a $5 million picture and you've got a bunch of people in this film. So I thought that could command more money. But I thought that was a pretty cool note.
Hanging out, having fun. So it had to have been pretty close everything had to have been pretty close together though.
Well, they shot in the same area as they shot Grown Ups in Massachusetts because Grown Ups uses the Water Whiz too in their movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that double. So if you've ever seen Grown Ups when they're at the water park, that's the same water park.
Same water park that has dye in the pool to make sure that.
Listen, everybody does that. I always tell my kids that my pool has that. It doesn't.
I can see when you pee. But yeah, that's a really cool note.
Well, there's definitely a difference between independent filmmaking or films with a lower budget and big time studio films. I mean, a lot of times they might be a job for people. That's just a job they're doing. But when you have an indie film or a smaller film, and you go in with eyes wide open, understanding the type of movie you're going into, it's a movie that, there's a different set of personal expectations on what you should expect.
Sure.
I mean, you can't be like, if I'm a big time movie star, if I'm Tom Cruise and I'm walking onto a set of this movie, The Way, Way Back, knowing it's a $5 million production, I've obviously you're paying me scale, or I'm doing this for a lot less money. I'm not going to walk in demanding trailers. I'll probably end up paying for my own trailer, I'm sure. But if but someone like Cruise, I think would get that, understanding the camaraderie nature of things. But like, I think with the exception of, we talked about this on the episode a while back when how they didn't put Matt Damon in boot camp for Saving Private Ryan. And everyone knows that, and that made everyone hate him, right? Because you had to, because that was the whole point of the movie. Sure. So stuff like that I get, but no, I think there's just different expectations for independent and smaller films and studio films. I
also think that if you take like a person who's been a main character for so long and keep putting them in a trailer, they're going to become more and more and more disconnected every time they're in there.
That's up to the person.
The point where they never really want to be connected to the cast.
Maybe. I mean, that's celebrity, man. That's how they are.
But I think that's one of the things that helps make that happen.
Well, you just when you look at actors' filmographies after they get big,
right?
Look at the movies they do, and I think you can tell the actors that are in it for the challenge and the work, and the actors that are in it for the paycheck and to be famous. And quite honestly, I don't blame either one. It's just that's how it is. You can tell the difference, and honestly, that's fine, because we need big time celebrities, because because that's just the way it is, and we need people that are. They do. Some people do. Some people love a celebrity or love a movie star. It's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So is there anything in this film, The Way, Way Back, that aside from Trent, which when we say we don't like Trent, it's a good thing, because he's
well
performing
written to
it well,
be
right?
A dick, yeah.
Is there something that didn't quite work for you in this film? The fact that she's making cheese and watermelon. I don't understand. Was that cheese and watermelon she was carrying?
It was moots and watermelon.
I don't understand that. No,
I thought the same thing. I go, it's blocks of moots. What are you doing?
Yeah.
A lot of Betty's family was just maybe a little too much at some points. Not maybe Susanna. She had her stuff together, but Betty and Peter were maybe a little heightened, a little too much.
Okay.
Like Betty was just kind of ridiculous. And I know there are people like that. I've met people like that. We've all met people like Betty, but she maybe played it up just a notch above normal. And then Peter was just absolutely ridiculous. So sometimes funny. Like I do like the line, what are you doing under there, Peter, when he's playing with the action figures? I'm making Luke and Leia make out. You do realize they're brother and sister. Yeah. Cool. So I like that, although he already told us in the beginning of the movie all his action figures are still in their packaging. So
that's true.
They kind of messed up there.
Uh-oh.
But I thought that Peter was maybe a little cut from the cloth of someone who's in a different movie. Someone who's maybe in a movie like Superbad or something like that with a little bit more humor.
Well, do you think Peter needs to be in the film?
He does give some scenes levity, which is nice.
Sure.
It was nice to see that kind of stopgap there when Duncan is overhearing Trent and his mom talk on the deck, and then Peter's there on the bottom of the deck and goes, "If you don't take me, I'll scream." So then Peter has to go with them, but he's just a little ratcheted up. The same with Betty, to the point where I don't think a lot of the other characters are, with the exception of maybe Owen. But I think we need Owen to be that kind of wisecracking, jokey guy.
Right. Well, with Betty, I thought that my note was that Betty's a hot mess, but I'm okay with that. As you said, yeah, we know you do know somebody like Betty, but I think Betty's probably the most honest person there. She says she says what she says, and she doesn't care. She's, you find out that her husband left her because he revealed that he's really homosexual, and he ran off with somebody they knew. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, I mean,
that they both knew. So she was bemoaning that, but it wasn't like she was angry and jilted, but I didn't get the sense that it was, contentious and maybe just to complain for complaining's sake. I couldn't get that. I didn't get that note from her.
You just get that Susanna talks a lot about how her mom's hurting.
She is, but
you don't really get that. Betty doesn't outwardly, other than her drinking, doesn't outwardly show that.
But you recognize why she is the way she is because of this thing that happened to her. But she's still charging on, right? She's still charging on. She's still, she pushes her son Peter, even though he's got the lazy eye. She makes the comment about lazy. Yes, but she's trying to
she's
get
like,
him not
careful,
to.
yeah.
She's trying to make sure he doesn't get. It doesn't bother him as because she knows people are just going to make fun of him.
Right.
So she's trying to get him out of that. So I really like Betty. In fact, I was like, I kind of hope that Betty still remains friends with Pam even after this breakup. You know what I mean? Because I know she's friends. She's only friends with Trent because the neighbors on vacation, and he even doesn't like her because when she shows up, he rolls his eyes. He's like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
But she is truly the most honest person there, and she knows what's going on. She knows that Trent is probably was sleeping with Amanda Pete's character.
I'm sure
Joan.
she knows all the hot goss going on around there. For sure.
Even when, because what ends up happening is if you haven't seen this film, is that you find out that Trent and Joan had probably an affair last summer.
Mm-hmm.
And now that he's up with a new girlfriend, Pam, he doesn't want to, but she clearly still wants to get with him. And I think you get the sense that he does hook up with her at some point.
Oh, the next day.
When they have that fight, the Candyland fight. And what I don't understand is that when Duncan outs him at that party, like Kip does nothing. Like Kip isn't angry. Kip, this is Joan's husband, we're assuming, or boyfriend.
Right.
Kip does nothing about it.
Well, you kind of get he at the time is just kind of like, what's going on?
Right.
So I don't think he has time to process that part in the scene that we're in. And then he's got to stop Trent from punching a 14-year-old kid.
Right.
He's the one that gets in Trent's way and stops the fight from happening.
Right.
So I don't think he has time to process that it was his wife that's doing it. But I also think he probably knows that she's more or less promiscuous. Like he's just kind of aware of it.
But now
like, that's my wife that's grinding on you is what he says to Duncan.
Right.
Duncan right when they meet.
But maybe she's, that's how she is, but ever to step over that line, especially with somebody that he is friends with.
That's why you get that shot at the very last shot in that scene is him kind of looking at, her character, Joan's character or Joan. And she's just kind of like sipping a drink like, oops, like she doesn't care. She clearly has no regret about what she did. And you see some like stirring in his head that something's going on in his mind, but this movie's not about him.
That's what I was going to say. I'm wondering if there was talk of a scene, or maybe they wrote a scene where Kip approaches Trent and confronts him about it. Maybe they took it out because of what you said, it's not his movie.
Well, the other thing is, I don't think there's a scene with the adults in it that Duncan's not in, which I do really like about this movie. I think you really are seeing it through the eyes of Duncan. Even though there are some shots there.
Like he's looking and they're walking. Yeah.
He's always like looking like he's in the back of the house, even though you get a close-up shot of them at the campfire. And Joan just chucking the s'mores ingredients at her because she's mad that Trent won't bang her right in front of his girlfriend.
I don't understand how Trent doesn't see him standing by the wall.
I thought the same thing, and then I realized they're loaded at this point.
True, and it's probably really dark.
They're drinking and smoking pot.
Yeah.
He's probably not really that aware of his surroundings.
True. So that's a good point, though. Everything's through Duncan's eyes. So you see that one shot when they sneak off, when he comes downstairs and the plates are everywhere all over the table.
And he looks out the
And
window.
they're sneaking up, but that's through his POV. So yeah, I get you there. That's a good point.
I really do like that, because usually a movie will break that at one point.
Sure.
Like, yeah, we're seeing it through the eyes. Except for this one scene where we're clearly blah, blah, blah.
But also that's not part of the movie's, I guess, promotion.
Right.
It's, it's through the eyes of this awkward teen. No, but that's how it's presented.
Although, you know what? I'm already wrong.
Oh, what happened?
The movie does break it. When Owen, during the rainstorm, after he's yelled at by Steph, you see Owen in his apartment sitting by himself. There's no Duncan to see him.
But see, that's not the family dynamic. That's like a different world, the Water Whiz.
Oh, sure.
So I don't think
that's the only time we do that.
Sure, but I don't think we can hold that accountable to Duncan through Duncan's eyes. I think the parent stuff, works.
Sure.
Yeah. But I think also, if you get rid of that scene, I don't think you get a moment where you can just see Owen maturing a little.
Sure.
So, because the very next scene, he's cleaning off.
He's never going to do that in front of people.
Right. So I think you need that also to, again, lead into the conversation that happens at the end of the film, where he tells him he understands, like we talked about before, understands about people that are, control, like his father and stuff like that. Yeah. He also has the biggest pair of cargo shorts I've ever seen.
Are you jealous?
I don't think I could wear I don't think I could wear cargo pants that big. First, I'm tall, so they would not. His cargo shorts would probably go to the lower part of my knee. But they are the biggest pair of cargo shorts I've seen.
That's all they can get for wardrobe.
Probably. I'm
Sized
sure.
them.
Please, I'm sure they're his pants. I'm sure half this stuff was their stuff. I mean, they're wearing Waterwiz gear, so I'm sure
Oh, that's where
they were just wearing the stuff that was at the park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, is the park really called Waterwiz?
Yeah, it's a real park.
Oh, they didn't even change the name.
No, it's a real park.
Probably because they couldn't afford to change all
Yeah.
the stuff. I know they almost got in trouble.
He
Sam
did because
Rockwell had to apologize because he was doing jokes over the loudspeaker
whatever.
during filming and made a herpes joke.
Grow up. That's still not as offensive as mozzarella cheese and
And
watermelon. Yeah. That's the most offensive thing in the movie.
Hey, Pam, this is interesting. This might have worked at one of your fancy galas. This doesn't really work here.
So we both basically really like this film.
It's a really good film. Yeah, I was glad. Some movies like this get a little too dour.
Right.
And this movie, although we're talking a lot about the Trent stuff, because the Owen stuff's mostly just really funny lines and stuff like that. But the water park stuff, it's pretty lighthearted for how deep and how kind of dark Duncan's life at home is.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy that levity you get while telling a serious story without being too dour, not leaving me, if I was in a theater, I'm not leaving the theater going, well, that was a movie.
Yeah, that's true. No, because it has a really good ending and it said something. The movie had a message.
Yeah.
And I think
that's kind of like The Descendants as well.
No, I think Faxon and Rash are really good writers.
Yeah, they can take a dark subject and bring some levity to it while still taking it seriously.
Yeah, no, I was completely cool with their Oscar win for The Descendants. I mean, I don't have issues with The Descendants. I haven't seen it forever, but it's not the writing. So it had nothing to do with the writing.
Right.
So I like that. I know I like them. I hope they do more stuff. I really do. So you were okay with when he's teaching them how to hold, when he's telling the girls to go up to the hold, and they're just staring at the yeah.
I was all right with that.
Yeah, that's
whatever.
Fine. But here's because I know that a lot of times when we talk about films,
it's gonna be somebody nowadays who's like,
we always talk about that wouldn't go well here, that wouldn't go well here. But it's like that's what people are still people. You know what I mean? Like that still happens.
Can't check out girls anymore, guys.
Yeah, God forbid. but that's them. That's they're teaching Duncan. That's not teaching Duncan how to be a lech. It's teaching Duncan how to be outgoing and personable and
how to be a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, yes, as an adult, grow up.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not going to do that as a adult.
Yeah. Teaching Duncan that as a 14-year-old kid, sure, why not?
Yeah, he's going to do that anyways.
Of course, a 14-year-old kid's going to do that.
Yeah, please. They're doing a lot more.
Yeah.
So we both like this film, but BBC Radio 5 Live film critic Mark Kermode says that reason that whilst it's not world-changing or earth-shattering, the film is really sweet and funny. It's like, do you have to give the dig there? Like it's not like the greatest thing ever. It's not Citizen Kane, but it's all right. Like, do you have to give the dig?
Listen, Commode, go back into your toy.
Do you have to give the dig? And then A.A. Dowd of the AV Club gave the film C+, Butler, describing it as generically constructed and never as refreshing as it's constantly straining to be.
Well, that's not true.
I know.
I thought it was refreshing.
Agreed. I think Dowd missed the point.
Boo.
So, I mean, I think even though this was a hit, I guess, why are we saying it's forgotten? Because it's considered one of the most successful films to come out of the 2013 Sundance Film Festival. And that's maybe based on money in terms of like how much it made and popularity, maybe. It does feel like one of those films, like there's always that one film that comes out of Sundance, like Little Miss Sunshine. That is the darling, the indie darling. It does feel like that kind of film, but never got the accolades it deserved.
Little Miss Sunshine also had a little more kookiness and had the dance at the end, which kind of got a wider appeal than a movie like this would normally get.
But I can make a case for Sam Rockwell to get nominated in this movie.
Sam Rockwell's amazing in everything.
I know that.
He's even great in the Ninja Turtles movie. You want cigarettes, cools, or menthols?
Okay, but he's not getting nominated for that.
No.
Okay.
But like, I just don't think this had the broad appeal of something like Little Miss Sunshine because you're watching the trailer and it does look like an indie. It's tough to cut a trailer that shows how interesting and unique and how not typical indie this movie is. Like it's cut from the same cloth. It's got a lot of the same stuff. You can tell it's an indie film, but it really, the way it handles levity and comedy along with serious subject matter is very different to most indie films. especially most indie films today that you would see, which I would consider this of today, even though it was
10 years ago.
10 years ago. Now.
Not even.
Damn.
Not even.
Yeah,
I mean,
9 years ago. Like this is, but it's tough to get people to want to watch a movie like that, especially in the summertime.
but I think this is now.
But it's about a pool. It takes.
That's
place
the
in a
thing.
water
I
park.
think its release date is good.
You can't. I would put it in August, maybe mid-August.
Maybe
It's still summertime, but
I mean, it's what it went up against. I mean, the week before you had crap. I'm sorry, but I wasn't when I'm okay with the exception of The Conjuring, which nobody kind of knew about. You had this Red 2, the sequel. I didn't even care about Red.
but Red 1 did
but I
a
didn't-
lot of money.
I didn't.
Just
but
because
see,
you didn't care about it.
true, but name me a movie on this list that is like The Way Back.
Not a lot, but Red has older actors, and an indie movie like this is going to really rely on older people, and not like I'm not saying like seniors, but it's going to rely on people in their 40s to 50s and 60s who are big film buffs, big cinema buffs going to see this movie. Plus, Steve Carell fans are probably all in that same age range. That's who you're going to get. But they're going to watch Red because they're going to want to watch Bruce Willis and John Malkovich kick butt in their 70s, even though it's completely unrealistic and then a terrible movie. I'm not a big Red 2 fan, and I really don't like Red that much.
I'm not a big Red
I
fan.
don't get why people like Red so much. I was like, all right.
I don't like either.
But I think you're going to get them. I think that, Conjuring, this is not obviously no one who would watch Conjuring is watching this.
True.
But you had said week 2 something had come out, right?
The week after?
Yeah.
Well, you had the Wednesday after you had the Smurfs 2. And then after that Friday, you had Two Guns, which was with Denzel Washington
Two Guns is
and
gonna
Mark
take some
Wahlberg.
of that
But
as
that's an
well.
action film.
I love Two Guns.
Wolverine's an action film.
But that's also
You also had a limited release of Spectacular Now, but that's not at 1,000 theaters like The
No.
Way Back is.
And then Smurfs, parents are being forced
That's a
to take
kid's
their
film.
parents are being forced to take their kids to the theater to see that. And a lot of people aren't seeing 2 movies a week.
See, I think the summer I didn't have a problem with the summer release because it's a summer film.
I just don't think putting it in July helps it.
It's the end of July though. It's not even like you're talking. You're talking. Most films are like the big films are Memorial Day weekend, and then you got the end of May, which is Memorial Day weekend. I always said that. The first week in May now that it's become, which is now turned into the last weekend in April for Fast and Furious.
Mid-March, man.
Ridiculous. So then you have the end of July, end of June. That the June is a big month, and the end of June before July 4th. Then the July 4th weekend, and then after that, you dip off.
It peters out a bit, but it's still kind of busy. I think August would have been a little bit better for this because you have to have that water park aspect to it. It does need to still be warm outside. It needs to be summery. But I don't know. I think that hurts it. I think Steve Carell playing a dick kind of hurts it because I think it's tough to market this film with Steve Carell in it. Although it did try, I remember in the trailers. It's tough to show him in any scene where he's not.
This isn't your Michael Scott.
Exactly. You're not gonna like this, Steve Carell. It's tough to really advertise a movie that, like, its biggest star is such a douche that you're not gonna like when that's how he's built his career on being a nice guy.
Right. He should have had an and credit here.
He should have. I don't know. Like, his top billing is like,
because it's 2013. It's like it's either towards the end of The Office or right after he left The Office. Or during.
I think it's still. I think he's still in The Office at this point.
2000. I think they ended it. I think they. I don't know. I don't remember. But anyways, it's around that time.
Sure. I know.
He should have. It could have been an and credit. It is focused on him. I also think maybe it's not. It hasn't been far enough away for people that maybe were affected by it more to grow up and. Maybe younger people like this film a lot more than older people.
Sure.
So as they grow up, they'll be like, oh, you remember that film? We talked about this for other movies. It might just be, we might have, maybe in 5 years, this movie will get I really love that film. I can't believe it. Yeah. I think it's one of those. I think it's one of those type of films. I hope so.
I like that it's on HBO Max. That means it's easily watchable.
Yeah.
A lot of people have HBO Max.
Yeah.
I think that if Jim Rash and Nat Faxon, like if you said, if they keep writing films that get popular and get,
people go back.
I mean,
this is their first directorial and written and directorial debut.
They only wrote Descendants.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Descendants was after this.
Descendants was after this?
Pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure Descendants was before this.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
Descendants was that? Wait,
2013.
This is the wrong Descendants. This is some kind of.
Is that the Disney one?
Disney one.
Nice. That's the one they wrote, the Disney one.
Oh, well, then
It's about like
2011. So they wrote The Descendants was before that.
They wrote, yes, but they did write this before The Descendants because they wrote this in 2007.
I saw it was on the blacklist.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
But I think if they do more and then you'd be like, oh, I really like those Jim Rash films, you'll go back and watch more.
Remember those Jim Rash films?
The Jim Rash next. The Nat Facts of Jim Rash films. The Nat Rash.
Are you shipping them?
I'm shipping them back.
Are there any lines in this film that you kind of stood out to you before we wrap up?
Oh, man. Pretty much everything from Owen, but I really laughed at the line when he's putting the bike in this car. And he's like, oh, be careful. Hey, my car's just the right amount of shitty. I really like that line.
And then after that, you notice that he's lifting the car, he's lifting the bike out, and you see
he's barely trying with his hand.
You see Owen's hand, and he's like, and then it's out.
Oh, glad we got through that. Yeah. Do you have any lines that you like?
Just my favorite line. I already said it. Like I'm the friend. I'm the friend of the three.
I'm a friend of the three.
I like that line a lot.
Yeah, I also like the one where he's kicking him out of the picnic bench.
Oh yeah.
Listen, you're having too much fun. You're gonna have to go. Oh, whoa, really?
No, it's not even my good stuff.
Yeah.
Where he's talking about like
the pants,
the Cold War stuff, and the Russians, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm not even trying here."
Did you get those jeans? No, my mom buys my jeans. Oh yeah, you took that seriously. How's that working out for you?
Yeah, being literal. Yeah.
You getting laid?
Awesome. So where can they find us?
You can find us at ForgottenCinemaPod.com or ForgottenEntertainment.com, as we are part of the Forgotten Entertainment family. While you're there, check out all the other great podcasts and video content that we have for you there. And you can also find us wherever podcasts can be found. Hey, you're listening to us right now. Go ahead and hit that like button, the subscribe button, or as I say on YouTube, smash that like button. Just leave a review. All that kind of stuff helps our podcast grow. And join us on the social media. We have on Facebook, we have what's called The Lobby, Forgotten Cinema's The Lobby, where you can join there and let us know what you think of The Way Back. If you haven't seen it yet, watch on HBO Max and then tell us what you think of The Way Back. Unlike some of our 90s episodes, you can actually find this movie.
This is getting longer and longer now.
Yep. We have to start having faster conversations.
And join us next week as guess what returns, Butler? Your favorite time of the year. Forgotten Horror comes back, and we're doing the 1975 American made-for-television anthology horror film, Trilogy of Terror. But we're not going to be alone next week. I'm actually very excited that John Doolin and Spencer Swindon from You Can't Sit With Us podcast is going to be joining us, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait for them to yell at you, but I'm just kidding. I don't know if that's going to happen.
I picked Trilogy of Terror, and then they agreed.
They did. I thought they were going to choose something else, but they chose this one. That's fine. So, we're really excited about that. We can't wait. So that's next week. Forgotten Horror starts with guest stars John Doolin and Spencer Swindon from You Can't Sit With Us. Until then, everyone have a great week. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.
Hi, I'm Shamar Griffith, codename Comic Shams.
And I'm Andrew Tejada, codename Arate.
I'm a blurred with a love for artwork and comics and animation.
And I'm a writer in Blurred with a love for pretty much the same things.
We grew up together and spent much of our formative years watching and talking about DC superhero shows and content. In fact, we still do.
Every episode, we will discuss a DC production, compare it to its original source material, and share our thoughts on the adaptation.
We've enjoyed our conversations these past couple of decades, and we think you will too.
This month, we're checking out New Earths as we hop across the DC-verse on
yet another DC animated podcast, part of the Forgotten Entertainment family. Forgotten Entertainment family. Forgotten Entertainment family. Forgotten Entertainment family.